So the advantage of this is that the architecture is already developed, and we only need to focus in how to generate the correct emotions that we will use during the interaction of between the patient and the virtual agent. So the cognitive emotional module that we develop receive all the events that occurs in the environment of the virtual agent from the DSS at patient side. As Maria already explained, the main functionality of one of the main functionalities of the DSS is to manage all the interaction during the session between the patient and the virtual agent. These events are produced according to this management of the session, and the management of the session is performed according to the data received for two inputs. From one side, from the sensors, and the other side, from the self-reports of the patients received through the dialogue manager. Okay? Then the events is produced, and the events will be assessed by the cognitive emotional module that we are still developing. So the events perceived are appraised according to some predefined goals in the virtual agent. For example, if the goal of the session of today is to provide the PHQ-9 questionnaires, then the event that the time to disclose this kind of questionnaire is triggered, then this event is appraised, and the emotional response could be neutral also if there is no negative or positive self-report from the patient. And if there is something positive that it is disclosing by the patient, then the different two positive emotions are produced. One is the joy, that is represented in the graphical virtual agent with a smile close, and the happy for with a more smile, open smile reaction in the virtual agent. The other is neutral, and this is always a cycle depending on the events and reactions that are produced in the patient. Okay, in more detail, how it works. The event is generated by the patient side DSS. This event in particular is appraised, and it is matching with the internal goals and some predefined emotional reaction. For example, if the patient is reporting a good mood, then the emotional reaction will be happy for the patient and to disclose to the patient. Then the emotion selection mechanism is influenced by what specific emotion type will be produced and what are the emotion activation thresholds. In order to activate a particular emotion, we can define some activation thresholds that are also used to differentiate between a friendly or a more neutral virtual agent. If we want to use a friendly virtual agent, then the threshold to activate the positive emotions will be lower than in the neutral neutral attitude virtual agent. From the emotion selection mechanism, then there are related tasks. For example, if the patient answers the first question of the daily mood check, then the next action is to request the second question, but also together with the corresponding emotion that was activated during this process. Finally, the selected task that will be disclosed to the patient will be sent to the dialogue manager, that is the central mechanism that will interact directly. This mechanism will construct the specific utterances of phrases that will be disclosed to the patient. Okay, the integration basically is done similarly to what is described from the internet, from the ICE engine. And the main characteristics, as a summary, is that specific events are referred from the personal monitoring system, the sensors, and the specific inputs from the dialogue manager. The events are appraised according to the goals defined in the virtual agents. And then Finally, the obtained behavior is represented of the specific task and emotion that should be disclosed during the interaction with the patient. Okay, some activities that we already have developed for the first pilot is, for example, the welcome dialogue. When the event, when the login event is detected, then the first reaction of the virtual agent is to say welcome back to the application. Then at the moment we have only the daily mood check that you've seen in the demo, the 4 questions that the virtual agent is requesting. Then we already have also implemented that if we, during the session, detect that the data from the generated by the sensors are not received in the system, then there is the triggering of activity monitoring dialogue, just to say, okay, please remember that you need to connect your sensors and use and download the data to the system. And finally, we have the firewall dialogue. Okay, one of the restrictions that we have at the beginning of the project was that the interaction with the patient should be restricted to positive emotions or negative or neutral attitudes. But if we are following psychological theories of emotion, there is not the best solution, because we cannot simply block the negative emotions. So in the future world, or the current world, we are studying how to manage the possible negative emotion that can be produced in the virtual agent, but in order to be useful during the interaction with the patient. So one of our current work is how to regulate or modulate this kind of negative emotions in order to really provide an empathic attitude during the interaction with the patient. One of the options that we are exploring is the reappraisal. That means the reassessment of the events that are producing. If there is a negative event related with some negative input from the user, then a negative emotion could be produced, because this is the empathy, the virtual agent can be produced in the virtual agent, but we need to modulate in order to provide a real useful feedback and not just displaying the same negative emotion. If the patient is saying that he is sad, it's not useful that the virtual agent also empathically say, oh, I'm very sad also. So the important part is that we need to provide some useful information and modulate these negative emotions in order to be clinically useful.